12 terrifying flash floods that brought cities to their knees. Flood deaths are a common threat throughout the world, with some places being particularly prone to floods. The deadliest floods in history brought havoc and chaos to towns and cities. Today we'll be showing you 12 terrifying flash floods that brought cities to their knees. The Huanghe, popularly known as the Yellow River in China, is historically the deadliest river on Earth. The 3,000-mile-long river snakes across northern China from its source in the Qinghai Mountains, way above sea level. In September of 1887, heavy rain saw the river rise above the dikes meant to protect the local population from rising floodwaters. The dike failure led to the flooding of 50,000 square miles of land, displacing 2 million people and killing 900,000 in the blink of an eye. Famine and disease would subsequently take as many lives as the floodwaters themselves in one of the worst humanitarian crises of all time. 2. Rainstorms lasting 10 days caused a series of mudslides along the Venezuelan coast, particularly in the state of Vargas. A series of floods caused even more damage for the region. Then President Hugo Chavez brought in military aid, and the American and Red Cross agencies also joined the relief efforts. However, many lives were still lost in the disaster. Between 10,000 and 30,000 people died due to a combination of flooding and mudslides. 3. Following a prolonged period of storms, numerous dikes collapsed along the shores of the Netherlands. As a result, the entire coast was flooded. Those living near the waters were particularly vulnerable. While the exact numbers were never recorded, it's likely more than 20,000 people lost their lives in the disaster. 4. The state of Kerala, famous for its beautiful monsoon scenery, faced the worst flooding episode it has seen in a century after a spell of particularly heavy rains. According to IMD data, the state received 2,346.6 millimeters of rainfall from June 1, 2018 to August 19, 2018. In contrast to the expected 1,649.5 millimeters. This heavy rainfall, combined with alleged delays in the authorities' part in opening dam floodgates, swamped several districts of Kerala and triggered landslides in Wayanad and Idukki. Experts later labeled it an avoidable man-made disaster brought about by indiscriminate deforestation, quarrying, and sand mining. 5. The Jiangsu Anhui flood is often referred to as the 1911 Yangtze River flood. Although that is a misnomer, this mega flood was the result of 2 rivers flooding simultaneously, the Yangtze and the Huai. Intense rainfall raised the water levels of the rivers to a dangerous point, leading to a massive flood. Floods would wipe out the crops of central and eastern China, causing regional starvation. Roughly 30,000 square miles of land were flooded in the coming days, creating millions of refugees. Food shortages led to riots and a spike in crime as civil discourse collapsed. Much of the chaos would be exacerbated by the onset of the Chinese Civil War in 1912. In August 1931, China experienced heavy rains and the Yangtze River flooded again. This created one of the deadliest natural disasters in known history. Consequently, civil authorities failed to take essential measures to significantly reduce overflow, such as gathering sediment along with the populated areas of the river. State funds were being filtered to the military as a result of this social turmoil, leaving insufficient support for the agricultural and rural communities. Additionally, the 1931 flood created mudslides that destroyed existing natural flood barriers along the sides of the river, making the area around the Yangtze River significantly vulnerable to a potential flood. 6. The 2015 floods in Chennai ended up being one of the world's most expensive natural disasters in that year, causing India over 50,000 crore rupees in losses. On November 29, a low-pressure area intensified into a depression, leading to huge amounts of rain in the coastal region of Tamil Nadu and Andhra Pradesh. Chennai recorded 266 millimeters in the first 24 hours and 490 millimeters the next day, which eventually led to massive flooding. By the afternoon of December 1st, 60% of the city's power supply was disconnected, leaving many hospitals non-functional, and 40% of the city's districts had submerged. While the rescue and relief efforts started within a day of flooding, and a lot of locals took the initiative to help others, the damage was already done. More than 500 people died, over 50,000 homes were structurally damaged, and over 1.8 million people were displaced. 7. The southeastern part of the United States was torn by tornadoes and floods that cost the lives of 132 people. Property damage surpassed the $1 billion level. El Nino was blamed for the unstable weather, which began in the winter of 1997 and went into the spring of the following year. During that winter, Florida received above-average rainfall, causing extensive flooding. In Tampa, 36 inches of rain fell that winter. 8. The failure of the Mill River Dam in Massachusetts, a major disaster in the late 19th century, is an example of an avoidable tragedy. The reservoir dam was built in the hills above Williamsburg and Northampton in western Massachusetts. It burst during the early hours of May 16, 1874, and water cascaded down a narrow valley of factories and farms. About 600 million gallons of water flooded the area, rising to 40 feet. An hour later, 139 people were dead. 9. The Big Thompson Canyon flood marred the centennial celebration of Colorado becoming a state. Partygoers had gathered in the canyon on July 31st to celebrate the centennial. In the late afternoon, a light rain began to fall. It turned heavy in the early evening. In a 2-hour span that evening, a year's worth of rain fell in the region. Water cascaded down mountainsides. At 10:30 p.m., a massive wave of water 20 feet high roared through the canyon, washing over everything ahead of it. Helicopters were deployed to find the 144 victims of the flood. 10. Floods on China's Yangtze River are common. In 1954, one of the deadlier Yangtze River floods occurred due to a rainy season that was both unusually long and heavy. In late spring, the waters began to rise. The government made several efforts to stop the flooding, such as opening floodgates, but these attempts were unfortunately unable to stop the flood as the waters rose to historical heights. Over 30,000 people died in the disaster. 11. The Aleutian Islands earthquake launched a tsunami on April 1, 1946 that overwhelmed parts of Alaska and Hawaii. Unimak Island, in the Aleutian Island chain, was first hit by a 100-foot wave that wiped out a lighthouse 30 feet above sea level, killing 5 people. The wave headed south to Hawaii, where it slammed into Hilo, erasing a third of the city. A schoolhouse in another part of the island was destroyed, killing a teacher and 25 students. 12. The Brazos River Basin was familiar with periodic flooding, which helped cotton farmers grow their crops. Still, area residents were not prepared for what happened on December 5, 1913. Heavy rain began falling on already elevated river water levels, and water overflowed the riverbank and washed into East Waco. 2 people were killed by the surging river, and businesses were damaged. The deluge eventually killed 177 people. Have you ever experienced a flood, or are you scared of floods? Let us know in the comments section below. Do like and share this video, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more such content.